Call in all golfers. Summer is here. Come experience Birch Creek and our summer golf leagues. Every Monday night is Couples League. Men's League is Monday after 1 and any time of the day, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Ladies League is Wednesday or Thursday. And junior golf camps run Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Call Birch Creek today for information regarding our Summer Couples League, Men's and Ladies League, and junior golf camps. That's Birch Creek Golf Course in Smithfield.
Monday edition, Clay and Buck will be back with all of you, breaking down the latest on the gun control debate on Capitol Hill, what's happening there. Do we finally have some sort of resolution with baby formula shortage? Plus, Buck.
We've got Naomi Wolf joining us to talk about the trans indoctrination of children that's happening in schools and in media all across America. The right has woken up to this. We'll discuss it with an expert coming up on Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM. KVNU.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And it's a Saturday morning, a little bit on the cloudy side, but it's warm out there. And time once again for the Garden Guide with Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Bill. Great to have you on the show today.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And, it's the first weekend of June, and it's time to be outside and do some planting. We finally are past hopefully all chances of frost, and we can get out there and do some planting.
Hope so.
In fact, I was out tilling my garden last night to get some more tomatoes and peppers planted, and we got some cucumbers and some melons planted last night. Going to try and do my beans tonight, and I've got corn to plant as well, too. So I think everybody's a little bit behind schedule on planting, but that's all right. And we can definitely talk about that on our show today. At Anderson Seed and Garden this weekend, we've got geraniums are still on sale. We've got some gorgeous geraniums that just came in. They are 50% off right now, so they're usually $4. They're on sale for half price, so they're $2 right now. We've got a great sale on some wave petunias as well, and so a lot of nice flowering plants. We just received a big shipment of perennials that just came in. Just unloaded a couple hundred shrubs yesterday and the day before as well, too. So we've got a new selection of trees and shrubs that just arrived. In fact, haven't been able to get these since March, but we just got some hazelnuts in. So we've got some really nice hazelnut shrubs if you would like a fruiting hazelnut. Those just arrived, and they've been really, really hard to get the last couple of years. So we've been holding our fingers crossed so that we could get some of these plants in this year, and some of them finally arrived this past week. So we're excited about getting a few new plants in, and it's happening almost on a weekly basis. New plants, new vegetables, new flowers in the greenhouse, and so we are fully stocked again for the weekend. It's a great time to be outside. We've got phone lines open if you'd like to call in and join us here on the Garden Guide, 753-5868-753-KVNU. We're here to answer your questions and solve your gardening problems. But
you brought a guest.
I have a special guest today on the show. Daryl Hancock with ChemDry is joining us.
Good morning, Cass Valley.
So glad to have you on the show.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
And I didn't bring you on because of your gardening expertise, and we're not really probably going to talk much about ChemDry, but I'm just so interested in you and how you got here and how things happened, and you are an avid gardener.
I love gardening. Love it.
And Brits are absolute crazy bonkers about gardening as well, too. So
yes, we are. You know what the key is having a British garden in the middle of the desert. It's really quite hard to do, but
but it is possible.
It is possible.
It is possible.
It is.
And probably with all the rain we've had the last couple of months, this is probably feeling a little bit more like home.
I never complain about the rain.
Yeah, and the mountains are a little bit bigger here.
They are. Beautiful place. I love Cass Valley. Love it.
So, but gardening is in my genes, and definitely in your genes as well too. And I mean, this is part of our heritage, and that's really why I want to have you on the show, because the heritage of gardening and the history of gardening in England is just huge. And just to have you on the show, it's great to have you here, Daryl.
Well, it's a great pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. So, how did you make it to Cache Valley?
I have absolutely no idea. But I'm glad I'm here. I've been in America now for around about 13 years. Absolutely love the American dream. Love America. I got my citizenship actually 7 months ago. So I'm now additionally an American.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That is amazing.
Thank you. Love being here. But I come from a county called Suffolk back in England. It's right on the southeast coast, right by the North Sea. Yeah. And beautiful place. It's very flat. A lot of British gardens there, a lot of roses. We're really big into roses.
Right.
And we just love our gardens. We never have to water our grass because we get so much rain.
Just get so much rain. Yeah.
So much rain.
Don't need a sprinkling system.
We don't.
There's people that live here that go to other places and they're like, there's no sprinklers. How do I turn the sprinklers on? And
Absolutely, we get so much rain, but you know what? I love it. So my house is right by the beach, and you can open the bedroom window and kind of hear the waves come crashing down, and it's just so beautiful.
Oh, awesome. That is wonderful. And before the show started, we were talking about your anniversary for ChemDry.
Yes.
You're saying 45 years. I cannot believe it's been 45 years.
ChemDry's been around for 45 years. We're in over 60 countries worldwide now. We're locally owned, but we're international now. And
that's amazing.
I've had the pleasure of owning it now for 8 years and absolutely love it. I love serving the people here of Cache Valley. It's a wonderful opportunity.
You've done some great work for us, and that led me into it's our 80th anniversary. So not to rub it in or anything.
That is amazing. 80 years.
So my grandmother started the store in 1942. So right in the middle of World War II, she left the position that she had at the Cache County Commission, and they were closing up, and it was kind of like a farmer's co-op. And so she bought all the scales and the drawers and a lot of the things that we use at the store right now still. She bought all that from the Cache County Commission, brought it to her new business right there on Center Street. So she started right there on Center Street, right where we're located, and opened her own business. And my grandfather had a dairy. It was the Anderson Dairy, and their motto was, you can beat our milk. You can whip our cream, but you can't beat our milk.
That's amazing.
Isn't that awesome?
That's amazing.
Yeah. So you can whip our cream, but you can't beat our milk. And of course, Grandma's business started to really grow, and it grew quite a bit. And eventually, Grandpa sold the dairy and went to work for his wife. And so he went to work at Anderson's, and so got rid of the dairy. And so Grandma was that successful doing what she was doing. And I'm sure some of our listeners remember Grandma. She passed away in 1976, but she was a true businesswoman. I mean, she did it by the book, and she knew what she wanted, and she had to go after it. And she lived in a tough time. I mean, there weren't many women that had a business back then.
Right.
So it's a really cool story.
What an achievement, Mark. 80 years.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
Very, very exciting. So, we're third generation, and we're keeping it going. And, of course, at Anderson's, there's a lot of things going on this weekend. We've been waiting for a whole week of really nice weather, and it's finally here. So I was outside gardening until it got dark last night. We'll probably do the same thing again tonight. And I know you've got some big projects that you're working on in your yard as
Massive,
well.
Massive, yes. So we own 2 acres up in Hyde Park.
Right.
Mammoth, we have 85 trees on our property. We have aspen trees, we have pine trees, we have cottonwood trees, which aren't my favorite tree, actually. Cottonwood, they make a lot of mess. But
it's not my favorite tree either.
It's not my favorite tree.
But it does serve a purpose if you need some big trees to kind of like a windbreak. And,
absolutely.
And they grow really fast, but they're really brittle.
I think our ones are about 30 years old. And they're just massive, huge. My wife's really suffers with allergies, and July time is a really difficult month.
Do you have a lot of grasshoppers?
I do have a lot of grasshoppers.
So that's one thing that we really wanted to talk about on the show today. My wife reminded me this morning. It's like, you got to talk about grasshoppers. So grasshopper invasion at your place?
Yes, absolutely. And ladybug invasion as well. We have lots of ladybugs.
Ladybugs are great because they're going to eat all your aphids.
Oh,
and
okay.
so ladybugs are beneficial insects, and they eat other insects, especially aphids. And so if you've got ladybugs all over the place, that means you have aphids on a lot of your trees.
Okay.
And the ladybugs, each ladybug can eat 50 aphids a day.
50
aphids, yeah.
Wow.
And so you get a whole bunch of ladybugs on there. They will consume all the aphids that are curling up your leaves, and they love maples and they love lindens, trees that have really sweet sap. They're like all over those. And so we're seeing a huge outbreak of aphids right now on fruit trees, so especially stone fruits, so peaches, plums, apricots, cherries. We're seeing
that's where I find them.
Lots and lots of aphids.
Yeah.
And the ladybugs are going crazy. And we just got a new shipment of ladybugs and lacewings and also praying mantids in. So did you know we sell bugs?
I did not
know.
know.
So we sell things to control bugs, but we also sell bugs as well too. So we sell beneficial insects. And so a brand new batch of ladybugs and lacewings, and also the praying mantis egg sacs came in this week. So a great way to naturally control the aphids in your yard. They're obviously not as fast as using an insecticide, but those ladybugs, they'll reproduce and they'll lay eggs out there, and then all of a sudden you'll have little baby ladybugs out there. And very frequently I'll have customers bring them in thinking that those larvae are damaging their plants. And they look really kind of creepy.
Right.
I mean, if we were to increase their size and magnify them, one of the creepiest looking insects that's out there is a ladybug larva. They're black. They have kind of orange spots on them, and they are kind of elongated. They look like little alligators.
I've never seen them, but I'm going to keep an eye out for them now.
I'll show you a picture during the break what they look like. But they eat even more aphids, so the larvae are even hungrier. So they'll eat the aphids like crazy, and they work amazing. But if you want to supplement your ladybug population, you usually want to do it in the evening. So the containers have about 500 ladybugs in them, and usually we'll recommend about evening when the sun's gone down, but it's still light out there, to release probably half of the ladybugs. And you want to kind of turn your sprinklers on a little bit, or at least get the hose out and get some moisture around there, because they'll come out of the container, they'll be really thirsty.
Okay.
They'll want to get a drink. So they'll get a drink, and then they'll bed down for the night, and then they'll wake up first thing in the morning, and they'll be really hungry, and they'll just start eating aphids like crazy.
I'm going to come and check out your bags, because I have a little 3-year-old daughter, and she would love to see
the praying mantis are really fun, because it's an egg sac, and there's about 150 to 200 eggs in each egg sac.
Wow.
And so when they start to hatch out, you've got these little tiny praying mantids running all over the place.
And they're those big green, long
they'll get
bugs.
big, but when they hatch out, they're only like a half an inch long.
Are they?
So they're just tiny, and they're really fun to watch them hatch out. But you want them in kind of a protected location so that birds don't see them when they're hatching, because the birds will just sit there and just pick them off one at a time as they hatch out and eat them.
Right.
Yeah, so they'll eat them. But then if you get the praying mantis all over your yard, they'll just consume anything that's smaller than they are. So they just eat every kind of bug that's out there. So anything that's smaller, and even some that are bigger than they are, they'll eat those as well too. And they bite.
They bite. Well, I'm going to stay away. I'm going to stay away.
They bite, so you got to be a little bit careful. Bill, it looks like we've got a phone call.
Yes. First up is Mark calling in from Millville.
Awesome. Good morning, Mark. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Good morning. I have a question kind of related to what you're just 3 maple trees.
Yeah.
And on one of my maple trees, I noticed that the leaves started to turn kind of a brownish rust color, and then they curled up really small. So I thought I might have aphids, so I used the insecticide soap that you guys have there.
Okay.
And then I also did the Fertilome tree and shrub drench.
Very good.
But now I noticed, and that happened on one of my trees, and it seemed like all the leaves on just shriveled up and died. And now I'm starting to see it on my other trees. So I don't know if it's aphids or if it's like a fungus.
It may not be insects. We have seen a lot of diseases as well too. What I'll probably have you do is bring a sample in so I can take a look at it. How old are these trees? Are they recently planted? Or are they older?
Probably about 2 or 3 years old.
Okay, so they've been in the ground for a couple of years then. Is it out on the exterior of the tree, or is it the leaves on the interior as well?
No, it seems like they're the leaves on the very outside.
On the very outside. You could have had a little bit of frost damage since we had some new growth just coming out, and we had a really hard frost about 2 weeks ago. I mean, very unusually cold for May. It did some damage on some of the exterior parts of a lot of plants that are normally very hardy and can handle it. But when that new growth comes out, it's really tender, so you may have had a little bit of damage out there. But cut off a 6 or 8 inch long piece or 12 inches and bring it in. Let me take a look at it, and we'll be able to tell if it's a disease or if it's just a little bit of frost damage, because there is a disease that gets into the maples as well too. It's called anthracnose, and I'll be surprised if we don't have a lot of anthracnose this year in the maples. But it usually starts not on the edges of the leaves, but it starts on the interior of the leaf, right along the veins, and so we definitely want to watch for that as well too. We see it in the native maples over in Wellsville almost every year, so it's a fairly common disease. So
how do you treat that?
There's some systemic fungicides that do a great job. Okay. Very inexpensive, easy to apply, and it will clear that up and keep it from spreading as well too. It gets into sycamores a lot as well too, and oaks. Okay. So we see the anthracnose in all three of those trees. But yeah, if you could bring me in a sample, that would be awesome.
Okay, sounds good. I appreciate your help.
No problem. Hey, thanks for calling this morning, Mark. And it sounds like you've got your aphids under control, but we got a little something else happening to crinkle up those leaves. So.
Okay. I did have another quick question.
Oh, you bet.
So I have a row of blackberries, raspberries, and then I'm wondering, I haven't sprayed them you talked about like the cane borer.
Right.
When is the best time to spray for that?
Right before they bloom, and so they're getting really close. So this is going to be a good time. In fact, last week I had someone in that had some crown borer in their raspberries, and so we got her set up to treat those as well too. But probably in the next week or 10 days is going to be a perfect time to treat for that, and then you're going to do it again right after the blossoms drop off and the fruits set.
Okay,
yeah, so right after they're done blooming.
Yeah, my blackberry bushes have bloomed, but and you use permethrin for that?
The permethrin is perfect, yeah. You just don't want to spray while they're in bloom. So, but the raspberries are a little slow blooming this year, so usually we're treating them the latter part of May, but it's going to be the first part of June this year.
Okay, sounds good. That's great.
Awesome. Thanks for calling, Mark.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend. All right. Phone numbers, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868 if you'd like to join our conversation. And I've got Daryl Adcock here, and we're just talking like British gardening and your garden. And
Absolutely.
And we were joking before the show started that the only reason I have you on the show is because of your awesome accent. So
you know what? I can't hide anymore, Mark. Everybody knows me. Everybody knows a British accent. So yes, I've got to be on my best behavior now.
Hey, whatever it is that differentiates you from everyone else is a really great thing.
So, Mark, we have an international listening audience today.
Wonderful.
All of my family back in England are now listening.
Oh, that is amazing.
I know.
That's awesome. And are they listening obviously through the internet?
They are, yes. Yeah, and I think my father wants to call in, so you might hear two British accents.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. I'm not as familiar with your climate there, but in many cases a lot of the gardening practices are very, very similar.
So we live in the very eastern part of England, so it's more like the Mediterranean. We get a lot of sun.
Right.
We have a lot of. We actually have palm trees as well. You can get some palm trees.
So,
yes,
so a little milder.
Little
climate,
milder. It's still wet in comparison to Cass Valley, but it's very flat. We have a lot of rose bushes.
Sure.
All kinds of things, and that's a question I have here in Cass Valley. Can you grow a really good British rose here and just maintain it?
Absolutely. So all of the roses do very, very well here. We've got to protect them a little bit through the winter time, but there's some gorgeous David Austin roses that you can do there. The big double, roughly, really unique looking flowers. I know we talked about Queen Elizabeth.
There is a rose called Queen Elizabeth,
and it's
yes.
gorgeous. Yeah, it's a very light pink, and it's got a nice scent
and
to it as well.
And it's now the Jubilee as well, so it's a great time to buy it.
Happening right now. But roses do very, very well around here. The key with the roses is you want to amend the soil so that it's not just growing in heavy clay. So usually we'll recommend you dig an extra large hole and then amend that soil with some nice compost and different organic matter to work into it. Peat moss is great, a little bit of zeolite. There's a lot of different amendments we can work in there. Okay. But the roses like really well drained soil, and our soils are a little heavier, a little more clay. So whatever you can do to build that soil up so it's got a little bit better drainage but still holds the right amount of moisture, that's critical to have that nice soil to start off with. But then with the roses, you want to make sure and fertilize. They like to be fed a lot. So we recommend you fertilize on a monthly basis with a rose food or a rose food with a systemic insecticide in there to control the insects.
Which, of course, I can buy from your store.
So easy to do, yeah.
Okay.
And it's like a quarter of a cup of the fertilizer per rose once a month. And we start fertilizing them in April. And we'll do like our main pruning in April and then fertilize the roses once a month. So first part of April, first part of May, first part of June, all the way through until the first part of August. And the key to keep them blooming is to prune them.
Okay.
So every time they produce a flower, you want to enjoy that flower either on the bush or bring it inside. But when you prune it, you want to prune it down about 5 leaflets. So you prune back 5 leaflet leaves. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves that have 5 leaflets on there, and you prune down there. And since you're fertilizing consistently, it puts out a lot more growth where you pruned it. And each one of those new branches that comes off, they'll produce a flower.
So I could get multiple flowers every single month.
So the key to keep them blooming all summer is to prune and fertilize, prune and fertilize.
What about during the winter? You said protect the rose bushes.
Right.
Do you trim them down right to the base core?
So we don't prune ours in the fall because that encourages more growth. We want them to go dormant. So we want them to go to sleep. So usually in September, you'll get a really good burst of color, a lot of flowers off of them. And at that point, we recommend you don't prune them. And so don't prune them in September, but let those rose buds just kind of fade and turn into rose hips, and that's Mother Nature's way of getting them prepared for winter. So we let those roses fade on the plant and develop the rose hips, and it's going to naturally make them hardier through the winter time. And then we have a little bit of a cocktail that we put on the roses in October. It's a high magnesium sulfate with a potash, like muriate of potash, and we put that on there, and it makes them hardier through the winter time.
Okay.
And so we'll apply that. It's granule. You just like sprinkle it on the ground around them, water it really well. And then we will mulch them, usually the end of October, first part of November, with soil building conditioner. There's a lot of really good mulches you can use, but we'll put like 12 to 14 inches of mulch in around the roses, and we'll cover up those grafts where the hybrid teas or the really desirable roses are grafted into that hardier rootstock, and we'll cover that up and protect it. And then you want to like take your snowblower and blow snow on top of that once it really starts to snow a lot, because the snow will insulate the roses really well. So if you get 2 feet of snow on top of a foot of mulch there, it will really protect the roses through the wintertime, and they'll come through great.
Mark, your knowledge is amazing.
That's how you do it. I mean, my mom lost a few roses this year, but the problem was we just didn't have that much snow cover. We got a lot of snow in December, but then most of it melted off in January because we got this really nice weather. We got this really warm weather, and that's what does more damage to the roses in the wintertime is the quick transitions between really cold weather and warm weather, and then back to cold weather really fast. They start to kind of wake up and they start to move, and then we get this really cold snap that comes in and it does damage. So once we protect them, we want to like leave them, throw snow on top of them, just keep them that way until about the first part of April. Then we get serious with the roses again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
That's how to do it.
Thank you.
And we've got some calls waiting for us, Bill.
We do. We have somebody who I think claims that she knows Daryl. Janice from England.
Oh, hello, Mum.
I'd like to pose a question to Daryl, if I could.
Sure, absolutely. You know, I'm a good gardener, yes.
We've got hundreds of quidjibos in our garden, eating everything. Can you tell me how I get rid of them, please?
Yes, you feed them a lot of food. a lot of solder, I guess, and they tend to disappear. Yeah, so Kutibo is a family trait we've had for absolute years.
Sounds delightful. Janice, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Daryl is a wonderful color person to have on the show with me, and we've built a little bit of a relationship over time, and we're hoping to build some more.
Oh, wow.
So, absolutely.
Oh, that's fantastic. He loves gardening, so do we.
Mum, can we just tell the listeners here in Cache Valley, what's the weather in England right now?
It's blue sky day.
Is it?
It's about 60 degrees, I think, and it's lovely, lovely. The sun came out for the Queen.
Came out for the Queen. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
So what's your favorite plant to grow in your garden?
I love everything. Daryl will tell you, I just love growing everything. I don't know, I like peonies, I like fuchsias, I love roses. We've got water gardens, so we've got 2 ponds in our garden.
Oh, wonderful.
With lots of irises that have just come out.
Our peonies and iris are just in full bloom right now, and they look amazing. They're just so gorgeous.
Can I say,
right
my
now.
mother has the most amazing greenhouse as well. Oh my gosh, it's incredible.
Nice.
And she grows
We
peach
love-
trees in England. Peach trees.
That's amazing.
It is incredible, yeah.
Yeah. We have a go at growing everything, and so I don't think there's much we haven't tried to grow. I think if you want a look for a miracle, then plant a seed. And it just fascinates me. I love the garden.
You know, Janice, one thing we've found over the years, and it doesn't matter where you're from or which part of the world you live in, but if you are a gardener, you are a down-to-earth, great, usually honest, hardworking person. There's just something about being a gardener just kind of grounds you, And
it's just fascinating, isn't it? In the daytime you can look at it and it makes you feel good, and in the evenings here we've got lots of jasmine and honeysuckle and roses, and the scents in the garden are just lovely. And so, it's lovely. I love it.
I've always wanted to do a scented garden in one section of my yard and just have, just some really heavy scented plants there, so you can just kind of go and sit on the patio and just smell them as they come by.
Go for try some orange blossom and the honeysuckles and the jasmines, and then put a table nearby and have your evening meal out there. It's lovely.
And a little water feature there as well too. It'd be perfect.
It's just lovely. Yeah. Oh.
My mother's amazing, and I tell her she could come on the show every single week and give some really great advice. She's amazing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Janice.
Mum, love you. Thank you.
Welcome. And you too, Daryl. Have a lovely afternoon.
All right,
morning,
morning for us. Thank you so much for calling. All right, we are at the bottom. We're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to have to take a short break. I think we've got a couple more callers on the line waiting. Just hold on just a little bit. We're going to have a couple short messages and a quick break, and we'll be back with more of the Garden Guide. Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden, and Daryl Hancock from ChemDry. We're just having a great conversation. Join us on the Garden Guide and join our conversation. And we'll be back in just a few minutes.
In for Will Philwright, I'm Bill Walter, KBNU News. Utah's coronavirus surge, which state health department officials say is driven by Omicron subvariants, appears poised to continue for several weeks. Research from South Africa indicates the BA4 and BA5 strains carry mutations and are not affected by the barrier of previous vaccinations or infections. The state's weekly Thursday COVID-19 report shows in the last 7 days, Utah's daily average of new cases grew from 802 to 819. More than 5,700 new cases were reported the last 7 days. Health department officials are concerned about increasing numbers in statewide hospitalizations and ER visits. Since the start of the pandemic, nearly 35,000 Utahns have been hospitalized, including 175 more the last week. As of Thursday, there were 137 COVID patients in hospitals, 33 more than the previous week, and 18 of them were in ICUs. Idaho wildlife officials say an attack by 2 wolves panicked a flock of sheep, and 143 died after they ran into a gully where they were crushed and suffocated. The Idaho Department of Fish and Game and the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Wildlife Services on Thursday confirmed the sheep deaths in mid-May in the southwestern Idaho foothills north of Boise. The area is popular for recreation such as mountain biking and hiking, and also has deer, elk, and large predators such as bears, mountain lions, and wolves. Over the weekend, slight chance of showers, high temperatures from the mid-70s to near 80, lows around 50. You can always get more news at CashValleyDaily.com.
From ABC Sports, I'm Mark Remillard. In the NHL Eastern Conference Finals, the Lightning entered Madison Square Garden having not lost consecutive playoff games since 2019. That is, until last night.
Back in, Fox feeds Zibanejad. He shoots. He scores! Mika Zibanejad!
Sam Rosen with the call on WEPN-FM. The eventual winner from Mika Zibanejad. The Lightning would strike late on a goal from Nick Paul, but the Rangers would hold out for the 3-2 win. They take a 2-0 series lead and head south for Game 3 tomorrow night. A night after Yankees pitcher Jameson Taillon's 7-inning perfection bid against the Angels, Garrett Cole went 6 2/3 perfect against the Tigers. New York becomes the first team with consecutive perfect game bids of 6 or more innings since 1961. The Bombers crushed Detroit 13-0. This is ABC Sports.
S.E. Needham Jewelers has been helping couples celebrate their anniversaries for more than a century. When you present her a piece of diamond jewelry in an S.E. Needham box, it says you are committed to taking care of her forever. We absolutely stand behind our jewelry, our prices, and our service. We always have and always will. This anniversary, give the gift of diamond jewelry. A diamond from S.E. Needham Jewelers says that you plan on being there for the rest of her life, just like we will be. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
My name is Gloria Nadal, and I chose Roof Rescue. They exceeded my expectations because they were able to follow through with the insurance company, establish a rapport, and ultimately the insurance company took responsibility and paid for my roof to be replaced. The products that they use were top-notch. My roof is beautiful. I would recommend them over and over again. My name is Gloria Nadal, and I encourage you to choose Roof Rescue.
The Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
All right, we are back here on the Garden Guide. Mark Anderson with Anderson Seed and Garden. We're taking your calls, answering your questions, and I've got Daryl Adcock from ChemDry and Suffolk.
Suffolk, yeah, an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you, Cash Valley, for having me.
So glad to have you. And we had our first international British caller.
We did, my mother. Yeah. She's very fun.
Yeah. I think we've actually had an international caller before because one of the producers that used to run the show for me, Jason, I think his mother-in-law called from Sweden one time. Yeah. But it's been many years. It's been many years.
Well, it's a pleasure.
We do have some callers on the line. So at Anderson's, we got some great things going on this weekend. Briefly, I'll tell you, we've got geraniums still on sale. They're half price. I've got wave petunias on sale. We just got a new shipment of perennials in stock. It is our perennial fest week. We had classes this week on perennials on Wednesday. We will have another class this coming Wednesday at 12:15. So it's our lunch and learn class during the Wednesday market on Center Street. So if you come for the market, make sure and stick around till about 12:30. We'll be doing classes at Anderson Seed and Garden. And I've got to look up which class we're doing this week. Oh, we're talking about fertilizers. So we're talking about fertilizer basics. So if you want to know how the fertilizers work and which brand of fertilizer or which blend of fertilizer is going to work best for whatever plants, and whether it's a liquid or whether it's a granule or whether it's a water-soluble fertilizer, we'll help you figure out how all that works. So we're going to be talking fertilizers at our Lunch and Learn class on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday at 12:15 at Anderson Seed and Garden. And nice couple shipments of trees and shrubs came in this week as well, too. And we're looking forward to some more fruit trees showing up the end of this month as well. So a lot of things happening at Anderson Seed and Garden. Come see us this weekend. We've got just some gorgeous plants and some new vegetables that arrived this week. I think we're low on melons right now, but we got a really great selection of tomatoes that came in yesterday. So if you're looking for tomatoes to replace the ones that froze last week, we've got you covered at Anderson Seed and Garden. Bill, who is our next caller?
We have Janet, has been very patient this morning, calling in from Franklin.
Good morning, Janet.
Hello,
Hi, how are you doing?
We're doing great.
Good. Hey, I have got a quaking aspen tree in my front yard that is huge. It's got a 6-foot diameter on the trunk.
That is big.
It is. It's really big. And I love it, except for right now, because it's a female. So I've got those seed pods that are trying their hardest to imitate a cottonwood tree, and it's everywhere. It's such a mess. Is there anything that I can do, like that you put on for non-fruiting on a crab apple or anything like that? Is there anything you can do to make it not do that?
That's a difficult one. Those are called catskins, by the way.
Yeah.
And they will make a giant mess. And there are, since it doesn't really produce fruit, we couldn't use like Florel on it and have that work, because this is the blossom. So these are the blossoms that are falling off, and this is where all the pollen comes from them as well. There is an injection you can do onto the trees, and it is called Pointer. And you've got to have the right tool to inject that into the tree, but it will get it to not produce flowers. It's kind of expensive, but it works really quite well. But you do it in the fall. And so we'd probably want to revisit that this fall, and I can show you how that works and how to do that if it's something you want to do.
Does that interrupt anything? Does that weaken your tree in any way?
No. It's a natural hormone that we would inject into the circulatory system of the tree, and it will get the tree to stop producing flowers. And timing is critical. You got to put it on at the right time, or else it just doesn't work. But we can do a little bit of research on it and see what's going to be best for a poplar, because it's in the poplar family. But we could definitely do that. The Pointer works great. It works really effective. I've got some people that do it for locusts, so they don't have like the locust pods all over the place. And I'm pretty sure it would.
No, that would be awesome, because it ruins all my flowers because it's got junk all over.
And there's tannins in there, so it's a little bit of toxicity in the soil, so it'll kill stuff around it. So
fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay, and then my next thing is, because this tree was so prolific this year with that, and I just was ignoring it because I try to ignore it until I like it again, and then it has aphids horribly. So I know you've got the drench. I've used it on it before, actually, but since it's such a large tree, if it goes a foot, is it a day or
it's a foot
week?
a day? Yeah, it moves at a foot a day. So if it's
okay, I was thinking a week. I'm like, summer will be
it'll
over.
be forever, yeah. But at a foot a day, a 30-foot tree, it takes 30 days to get to the top of the tree. So that's why we usually recommend you put the drench on in March. That way you've got plenty of time for it to move all the way up through the tree. And that's when the sap's really flowing through the tree quickly, so it'll actually move faster in the springtime.
Okay, well, what on something that large are my chances with ladybugs or anything of that nature? I mean, what else can I do?
As long as there's food out there, the ladybugs will stick around your yard. And so they do a really great job. If you want something quicker, you could actually spray the systemic on the leaves, and it'll absorb it in through the leaves and run it through the tree a little bit faster. So you can spray 20 or 30 feet up into the air, and if you've got a 45-foot tree, it'll work its way up to the top faster that way.
And what is that I would spray?
It is called systemic insect spray by High Yield. And it's essentially the same thing that's in the drench, but we'd apply it to the leaves. It just won't last as long. It'll last about a month as a spray, where when you do the drench, it'll last for 8 to 10 months.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, that was my question.
The drench would be.
That's what I needed to know.
I would be very highly recommended to do the drench on your large quakey, because it'll keep the boars. It'll keep the boars from attacking your tree. So it'll kill the boars as they attack the tree.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. I will do that then.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for calling, Janet. Have a great weekend.
You too. Okay, bye-bye.
So, all right. So she's got aphid problems too. So it's not just you, Daryl.
I know. I've got lots of grasshoppers as well. Lots of grasshoppers. And I don't know what to do apart from eat them, but eating them wouldn't be healthy, so yes.
I think they are actually really quite nutritious.
Apparently so. That's what I
think
hear.
They're very, very nutritious, and they supposedly taste like chicken also, but...
Everything tastes like chicken, doesn't it? Everything tastes like chicken.
But to keep the grasshoppers away from your property, there's a really, really amazing repellent, and it's made from cedar It's made from cedar oil, and so it's all natural. It smells wonderful, so it smells like cedar, and it's kind of the same principle as having a cedar chest. You put your valuable clothing and like your wedding dress in your cedar chest, and it protects it from insects. So it keeps the insects away. So my brother does handcrafted nutcrackers, and he uses mink. He uses mink fur to do the beards and the hair and stuff with. But there's insects that like that mink pelt. And so he keeps his fur in a cedar chest to keep the insects away from him.
I never knew.
Yeah, and so what we're going to do is we're going to use the cedar oil in a granule or in a liquid form, and you can do a perimeter treatment around your property, and it will keep the grasshoppers and other insects from coming in. And so I've used it for years in my vegetable garden, and so the granules are great because I can broadcast up and down the rows, and basically the insects come into that area. They don't like the smell of the cedar. It kind of messes with their natural ability to find food and to find water and to find mates, and it just kind of confuses them, so they just leave and go somewhere else.
So it's all natural.
It's all natural, and you can use it around edibles. You can use it, in areas where your kids are going to play or your pets are going to be. It won't bother them at all unless you're allergic to cedar, which I happen to be allergic to cedar, so I have to be a little careful handling it because I'll break out. I'll get like a little bit of a rash, and so just be aware of that. But it smells wonderful. It makes mosquitoes leave. Grasshoppers don't like it. Any type of moth or fly that comes in and lays its eggs on your plants, it will drive them away, and they won't come and lay their eggs. And it works great on grasshoppers.
You have completely sold it to me. I'm going to come in and buy some.
It's awesome.
Yes.
And then if you need something to knock them down really quick, because usually the grasshoppers are coming from the vacant lot next door or the empty field out back, and that's where their breeding ground is. And then as soon as their food source dries up, like all the green leafy stuff that's out there, whether it's grass or weeds, they'll be consuming that. But by the end of this month, it'll turn brown and dry because the rain's going to stop and everything's going to dry up. That's when they look and they go, "There's Daryl's property. That looks amazing. I think we'll go over there and have a little snack." And so all of a sudden they're coming over to your place. So right now they're hatching out like crazy, and they're really small. They're about a ½ inch long. And if you want to go out in the areas where they're coming from, you can spray an insecticide like 7 or permethrin or bug blaster would be great, and you can knock them down while they're tiny and just kill thousands of them at a time.
Right.
And it's very, very effective, but again, also very safe. So the bug blaster and the 7 and the permethrin are safe to use around edibles and very, very effective. They'll knock grasshoppers down in just minutes. You'll have
let's face it, he wants grasshoppers.
Yeah, little dead carcasses all over the place.
And is that going to entice birds, though?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not really. And if the birds eat them after they've been sprayed with the insecticide, usually they won't. Like the aphids, I've had customers come in, they're worried. Like if I put the systemic on my tree and the aphids get a lethal dose and they're dying, what if the ladybugs come and eat them? Will it kill the ladybugs? Well, the ladybugs can tell that aphid doesn't look good. It's kind of like, I don't want a steak from that cow over there.
Yes,
that doesn't
absolutely.
look really good. It's like you can kind of tell which ones are not great. Well, ladybugs can tell when the aphids are sick, and they won't eat the sick aphids. They'll just eat the healthy ones.
And I love that it's organic.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. So, Bill, we've got some more callers.
Yes, we have Chloe from Logan this morning.
Good morning, Chloe. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Good morning.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well.
Good. Thank you for doing this show. It's wonderful.
You are so welcome.
I have little black bugs on my petunias, mostly on the leaves right now, and they are so tiny. They're not even as big as a pinhead, but they suck the life out of your petunia. They're just little tiny black dots.
There are multiple insects that like the petunias. We have seen tobacco budworms already on the petunias, and spider mites like the petunias as well too. And there's lots of different options of what could be doing it. One of my favorite insecticides for the petunias is it's called insect disease and mite control, and it has a little bit of everything in it. So it works on diseases, and the petunias and the geraniums get diseases called botrytis, and so this will control the botrytis as well as any type of mites that might be bothering it, and the mites like the petunias. It will take care of the tobacco budworms. It'll take care of aphids, and it works systemically as well as on contact. And so that's going to be probably your best bet, since I'm not sure exactly what it is that's getting your petunias, but this will work on a broad range, a broad spectrum of different bugs and diseases.
Okay.
All right.
All right. That's perfect.
And
I'll try some. Thank you so much.
It comes ready to use. It comes in a hose end, and it comes in a concentrate, so you can mix it up in your own sprayer. And once you apply it to the plants, it will last for about 3 to 4 weeks. So you get a nice long residual out of it, so you only have to spray it about once a month.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds great.
Insect disease
Okay, thank you,
and
Mark.
insect disease and mite control from Bayer, and we carry it all the time. So
From Bayer.
Yep.
Okay.
all
Very
right.
good.
Thanks, Chloe.
All right. Have a great day.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thanks for calling. All right. Who's up next, Bill?
We have a friend of the program, or maybe a fiend or something. We have Todd.
All right. Good morning, Todd. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you today?
I'm doing good. Another way you can get rid of the grasshoppers, if you have chickens next door, throw them over to the fence.
Yes, the chickens.
The chickens can eat them.
The chickens eat insects like crazy, not just grasshoppers, but I think the chickens are more of a plague than the insects. So
I know what you're saying. You're okay. I'm just throwing that out.
It's all personal opinion. I know there's a lot of listeners out there that love their chickens as well too. I prefer. I grew up with chickens in our yard, and they were not my favorite. Not my favorite pet to have around.
My little 3-year-old, she really wants chickens.
She wants
really
chickens,
bad.
yeah,
Yes, and
yeah.
I'm kind of like in the borderline.
I have good friends that have chickens too, so it's okay. I may have done a problem, Mark.
Okay.
I may have done something wrong.
Explain it to us, Todd. Yeah.
In my garden, we were planting tomatoes, and I did the secret formula like we talked about. I had a little left over, and I put that in my pepper plants.
Okay.
Is that going to hurt that?
Oh, no. I use my tomato secret formula on the tomatoes, and I use it on the peppers, and I use it on the cucumbers and the squashes and the melons, and it makes them go crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
good.
Absolutely.
In there. And I've got my aquadomes on my tomatoes.
Yep. I put my daughter was out. My daughter was out helping me plant last night, and we got our cucumbers and our melons planted, and my aquadomes went right on top as soon as we got them planted and watered.
The soil heated.
Yep, got to heat them up.
Heated and stuff like that.
I'm planting tomatoes tonight. If
Okay.
you want to come over, Todd, if you need something to do.
Okay.
I just have one question. Is it tomatoes or tomatoes? Tomatoes.
You know what?
Depends on
I
where
think
you're
it's
from.
tomatoes and tomatoes.
Okay.
So I think it's both. So I think we're good.
And then you got peonies and peonies. You know, so I mean, there's a lot of different ways to say it. And I think
Or is it creek or crick?
Yeah, creek.
Anyway, okay. Last question, real quick, Mark. I still have 2 or 3 raspberry plants, and both my blackberry plants. They're not showing any signs of green.
Yeah.
Is it going to take a while since I transplanted those to show growth?
Trim them down, and we don't.
Well, they're the new ones.
Yeah,
They're the new ones.
Well, you're going to trim them down still, and so I planted 11 raspberries at my house in my dad's garden this year, and a couple of them have been really, really slow, but most of them have not put out growth on the old cane, but they have come up from the root system, so they're coming up from below. So it also depends on how deep you planted them. So last night my daughter and I were out there and we watered the raspberries, and I think number 11 finally started sending a shoot up, but it's not on the cane. It's coming up from the ground. So I'm going to trim that cane down and let it focus on that new growth that's coming up from below. So we want growth coming from the root system, not necessarily from the cane that was there from last year. So don't worry if those canes don't leaf out, as long as you're getting growth from the root system.
So you trim it right to the ground?
If they're 12 inches tall, trim it down to 6. You know, and then and then if you start getting more growth coming up and you don't see anything coming on the cane, then you can trim it down to the ground, because those are last year's canes, so they're not really going to do anything. And so you can trim those. You can trim those off once you really get the root system going.
Okay.
All right.
I got growth on several of them, like I said.
And
but it's those other ones that aren't.
Yeah. There have been years where we planted raspberries and we've only had like 50 or 60% take, and so it's not uncommon for that to happen. But I got 11 out of 11, so I'm feeling pretty good about the raspberries this year, Todd.
Okay. That's all I needed.
Yeah. All right.
Today, so.
Okay. Hey, thanks for calling. You have a wonderful weekend, Todd.
You too, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. What, another caller?
We have Christine calling in from Smithfield.
Good morning, Christine. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hello. How are you today?
We're doing great. It's so much fun having Daryl on the show. So,
hello, Christine. How are you?
I love his accent. He
Absolutely.
can talk to me all day.
I could talk to you. I get that so much here in Cass Valley. I bet you couldn't, but yeah.
And his mom called too. That was so sweet. So.
Yeah, I heard that. That was pretty cool.
Very thoughtful. Very thoughtful.
My question is, I have spots in my grass that are literally brown and nothing's there, and I'm wondering if it's the dog urine or what I need to do to bring back the grass.
Great question, Christine. We have seen a lot of dog spots already this year, and the thing about dog spots is they're going to be small, they're going to be round, and they're not going to increase in size. They're going to stay that size, and it's just like a burn spot where they peed on your turf. We are seeing a lot of disease in lawns right now. No insect damage. So I haven't seen any insect damage. So yesterday I saw probably 20 photos of people's lawns that they brought in for me to take a look at. And they're kind of splotchy. Some of them have streaks. Some of them have little brown patches all over the place. But we haven't seen any insect damage yet. In fact, the adult insects are out laying eggs right now. So this is a perfect time to put a preventative insecticide on. But we haven't seen any insect damage to the existing grass right now. But what we have seen is some stress because it was a little bit dry through the middle of May. And then we're seeing a lot of disease because we had a lot of humidity, a lot of moisture, and some really warm days followed by really cold days alternating throughout the whole month. And so we're seeing a lot of disease in the lawns. And the disease is gradually going to increase in size. So if your spots are not increasing in size, I've got a really cool spray. It's called Dog Spot Treatment, and it's made by Revive, and it will neutralize the pet urine. It will cure the spots that have been damaged, and it will prevent new ones from coming back. And you just spray it once a month on your lawn, and it will fix those dog spots. And it really does a great job. It'll make your lawn look really good as well, too. If it's a disease, then we want to get a disease control on there right away. Like this weekend would be perfect. And there's some really good options that we have. But as of right now, I haven't seen any insect damage. It's mostly disease. And there's some really good ways to try and diagnose that in your turf. But I would bet money that we're seeing 90% disease and less stress after getting 1.5 inches of rain last week.
So I took a picture of it. If I make it in today, you can determine.
I would be
much
happy.
better.
I'd be happy to take a look at it. Yep, no problem.
All right. Well, you have a great day, and thank you for doing this show.
Oh, you're so welcome, Christine. You have a lovely weekend. Thanks for calling in.
You too. Okay.
Right.
Goodbye.
Okay. We probably don't have time for another caller. Our show's just about done.
Starting to
Did
wind
I
up.
get all your questions answered, Daryl?
You certainly almost did, yes, about the grasshoppers.
We got roses, we got grasshoppers, we got aphids.
I just have one question, and maybe we can talk about this maybe next week. Does anybody have a sweet chestnut tree here in Cass Valley where you can roast chestnuts on an open fire at Christmas time and just make memories?
In America, they're called Ohio Buckeyes.
Ohio Buckeyes.
That's Ohio Buckeye, yeah. But it's a castagna, and so they just don't grow here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm out of luck. It's done.
We'll see if anybody has one, but it's highly unlikely. I have some lovely horse chestnuts, pink and white flowering. You said you can actually make beer.
You really can, yes.
Out of the flowers.
Yeah, you can actually brew it and
so interesting.
Make an old English beer, which I don't drink, but I've seen people do it.
Do you know what it's called?
I don't. I'm going to find out for you, though.
Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, so interesting. But I lived in Italy for 3 years, and we would hike up into the mountains, and we would go gather up not horse chestnuts, like real chestnuts, and bring them back, and we'd roast them.
You can't beat it.
Oh, they're amazing. They're just amazing.
Smell, the aroma, everything about it.
Yeah,
yes.
we'd roast them. So that was really a lot of fun doing that. But I don't know a single person in the valley that has a real Sweet chestnut.
Well, can I also say, Cass Valley, thank you for supporting ChemDry as well. We really appreciate you. It's been wonderful surfing Cass Valley for 8 years. And it's been an amazing journey. So thank you, Cass Valley.
We are so glad to have you here. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you,
It was
Mark.
fun just to have you come on as a avid gardener.
I love it.
With an amazing accent. And
and if I come to your house and clean your carpets, you can talk to me about garden stuff.
The whole time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Will you bring some chestnuts?
I will. If I can grow them here, I absolutely would, yes.
Yeah, bring some chestnuts. So we talked about grasshoppers. We talked about roses. We talked about the ladybugs. We need to remind everybody that it is time to spray your fruit trees. So apples and pears, this is like prime time for doing your first application for codling moth control. So we have some great options for you at Anderson's, whether they're organic or synthetic, and some nice timing available. But this is the weekend to start spraying your apples and pears for codling moths. You don't get worms in your apples. And it's also a really good time to spray your stone fruits for diseases. We're seeing shot hole fungus. We're seeing peach leaf curl. We're seeing corinium blight and bacterial canker as well, too. So this is the time right after the blossoms have come off to spray those as well, too. So some critical timing on those. Great sales going on at Anderson's this weekend. Geraniums are half price. Wave petunias are on sale. Gorgeous perennials arrived and are in stock. And we're there to help you answer your gardening questions. Good time to fertilize. And, of course, I'll be out working in my garden tonight. Daryl, you have a standing invitation to come and plant vegetables at my house.
I would love to do that. I'm going to take you up on that, Mark, but thank you again.
We'll send your mom a nice peony or something to add to her garden. So thanks for listening today. We'll be back again next week with another edition of The Garden Guide. And come see me on Wednesday for our Lunch and Learn class. We'll be talking about fertilizers Wednesday at 12:15 on Center Street at Anderson Seed and Garden.
Covering all the news. Stay with 610 AM and 102.1 FM. Breaking news and stimulating talk. News Talk KVNU Logan.